Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to the Spoiler Zone, starring Mr. Jim Klaboyko, Navy veteran, hard-bitten film critic. And then, of course, yours truly, Squints Christensen, couldn't hit the broadside of a barn with the gun or the car. All right, everybody, let me first of all bring
no gun. I need a shave though.
Yes, you do. Mr. Chaboyko, you do need a shave. How you doing, man?
Good. I was thinking of making a dramatic entrance, warning you about an impending wave or earthquake or something, but we're in Winnipeg, so that wouldn't be a very slow-moving rising river.
It would be bad form, Jim.
Yeah.
No. Good evening, everyone. We've got another great. We've got a couple of comments already.
Oh my gosh.
Katie and Richard are here and they're waving. So why don't let's give oh, there's a hi from Katie.
Hi. That's Norwegian for hi, I think.
Yeah. And then Richard and Katie are waving. So let's hello. You can too, Jim.
Yes, I did. You missed it.
Oh,
you missed my big wave.
It'll be in the recording, I guess.
Waving for the wave.
So Jim, do you want to? Oh, and I think I can actually post a comment on YouTube. Let me try this.
Sure.
Oh boy.
Meanwhile, I'll just let everyone know Rob is broadcasting from an Oslo ferry terminal.
As a matter of fact, Mr. Chaboyko, I'm because a pro that I respect for some reason made a comment about the fact that I look like I'm just in a dark cave. I should kind of soup it up. So this is actually, if you can tell, it's actually I've moved my end of the production operation into a basically, for all intents and purposes, an abandoned theater concession area.
Okay.
So
there you go. Yeah.
Whereas Mr. Chaboyko is definitely ensconced in his wonderful
second story study.
Well, you know what? I look at it. You're writing your warm, cozy, very C.S. Lewis-y. Maybe not Tolkien, but C.S. Lewis-esque, the C.S. Lewis of Canada's, little hidey hole there, little den / bric-a-brac place / work and writing study. It's your study.
There you go. And there's not a clean surface in the place.
No,
I literally don't know if I had anything else to bring in here where I would put it, but anyway.
But I think that's. Oh, go ahead. Yep.
The backdrop, I was going to say, is festooned with mist-like clues. For instance,
that sounds fancy.
Nikolai Habibulin Jets figure, some kind of devil guy on this book. Where I can't do this. A globe over there, flag.
Awesome.
There's wall tiles over here, all kinds of stuff. Oh, clues. Basically,
clues.
Very, very selected. Very. It looks messy, but it's on purpose.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, what?
Okay. Katie says professor's office.
Yeah,
I wish.
If only. All right. I'm just kind of queuing up. Queuing up the trailer for tonight, but Jim, do you want to maybe give a quick little introduction? I'll listen. I'll just I'll put you up there. Sure. Other way around. How can I do that? Oh, I know how to do this.
Okay, today I didn't write anything down, but today's movie was that we watched was The Wave, which is Bolgen in Norwegian, and it was a 2015 Norwegian disaster movie that all about the fjords and what would happen if there was a little bit too much geologic activity, and when a cliff collapses into the fjord below, it creates an 80-foot tidal wave, which you can probably guess from the movie poster. And it focuses on a family of four. The Norwegian story, the Norwegian title was Norwegian Marriage Story. waiting for Rob's reaction.
It's coming.
Yeah.
I think the hilarity and zany schemes. Hilarity ensues.
And it's about a family of four that's preparing for a big move from the small town of Geiranger, which I'm totally mispronouncing, and they're going to Stavanger, which is a big, essentially it's their oil city down in the south. And I looked before we got onto air here, and it's a 10-hour drive. So it's kind of a big move for the family, but refreshingly, there's the usual sort of husband and a wife squabbles and stuff like that, but they're not being torn apart. And there's a surly teenager, but there's always a surly teenager, isn't there? So
would it really be, Jim, would it be a movie without a surly teenager?
I don't think so. No, you really do.
It doesn't make a lot of sense, does it?
No.
All right. Don't show this. Oh my goodness. Do not show this audio again. All right. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw up, well, you can see already I've got the screen pretty much captured for the trailer. So I'll go to the trailer. Feel free during it, Jim, to editorialize. I think I will.
Okay.
That's my plan.
Okay.
Yeah, let's take a look at the trailer, and then we'll get into it.
And a word of caution:
I have some thoughts.
Norwegian trailers are 45 minutes long. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, give me time to go get a drink, go get a cocktail. All right, everybody. Let's see here, and I hope we'll hear this. I think I said it properly, so you'll hear it, but we'll find out. Ooh. It was that rock that did it. That's what set it all off. See?
I would comment, but this makes me want to watch it again.
You know what? It's right around here where I'm like, this might actually be good.
Etter 10 minutter så finnes det ikke Geiranger lenger.
Come on, Jim. Come on. Your burden. That huffing and puffing sounds a lot different in my head. Yeah, it just takes on a different. Whew. That was Norway's honest to God official nominee for official submission for the Academy Awards for 20, I believe, it was for 2015. 2016, of course, was when the awards were handed out. And I was like, there was a part of me gave a little eye roll at the beginning, and this may kind of tell you how I felt about the movie in general is I can now answer that question, at least from my perspective. I'm like, really, Norway? Really? That was the best you had? But I kind of dug deep, and it was like it won a million awards at that time. Like it really was the most popular movie in Norway. So I would imagine oh, look at this, Katie chiming in, Professor's Office, and then To Shame. I don't know, maybe that's for me. But yeah, myself, I was like kind of, that's you know what? It was a pretty good movie, a pretty good disaster movie.
Yeah.
By the end, I got into it, but yeah, no, I mean, mind you, most of the movies that win Oscars aren't worthy of Oscars.
Yeah.
But dear Lord, not this one. Like, it had some interesting moments, and yeah, you're right, Jim. And actually, you know what? A lot redeemed it. Like by the time I was getting near that, well past the halfway point, not quite the third act, but we're getting to that turning point. And there was when they found the duct, and for once in a movie, it's like, yeah, no one's getting through that duct. That duct is doing exactly what it's supposed to do. It's transferring air, and there's pipes, and that's it. And I was like, oh, this is it moves that gets you a whole point. Like a whole star goes right there just for a duct that is like because you really are, you're like, oh, okay, and then she'll somehow go, oh no, she is not getting through that. Well, and I thought that was and kind of a cool way to also give them that breathing space. Literally, but also figuratively, like the breathing space you talk about, that moment to just kind of everyone to catch their breath, Yeah. So that went a long way for me,
Yeah, the whole Oscar thing that doesn't sort of faze me too much. I mean, what are you gonna? You're gonna vote in probably the most popular movie that everyone's seen. I mean, Norway, I believe, is a country of 4 million people. So I was trying to think, have I even watched a full-on Norwegian movie before in my I was trying to think, no, that's Swedish, no, that's Danish. I don't know that I've actually ever watched a full-on Norwegian movie. I've watched movies with Norwegians in them, but I don't think that I'd ever seen one before. Having said that, I thought one of the most endearing qualities of the movie was the Norwegian culture that you saw in it. So if they cut away, there's the surly teen is staying in the hotel that his mom works in. It's their last night in town. So he's staying there, and the father and the daughter elect to stay at home where their memories are and that sort of thing. And the
one more night in the family, in the family homestead.
Yeah. And the surly teen stays in the hotel room, and he's sort of bored and flipping the channels. And what you see is Norwegian television. Like there's no Baywatch. It's not, any CW offerings. I'm trying to think of what was popular in 2015, but that was too long ago. And instead, they literally have a shot of old people on the shore waving Norwegian flags, and he sort of rolls his eyes and turns off the television. So that's
as
great.
Any teenager would.
Yes, and then he takes his skateboard, goes into the basement, starts riding around on the skateboard, and he pops the music in, and it's rap music. And guess what, folks? It's Norwegian rap music. And in that scale of
that play,
in the scale of things that make a movie worthwhile, and we talk about it occasionally. Show me something that I've never seen before. Give me something I've never heard before. Never heard Norwegian rap before, and it sounds pretty cool, actually. So, I'll have to dig into that a little deeper. I was sort of running out of time there, but yeah. So all the touch points, all the little cultural touch points, like there was no sort of invasion there's no reference to any other country, which is sort of, this, I think this movie, and that was a bit of a sign the movie stood on its own 2 feet. It's
even the oil stuff, like it was more of that urban rural kind of conflict. Well, almost pastoral. Like, I mean, it's not like there are farmers out there. you know, even their villains, like, so there was no talk of, oh, the evil American oil company.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that American oil companies aren't evil, but that's not really an interesting point of departure. You know, it's an oil company.
This segment's brought to you by Texaco.
Exactly.
There go our ad dollars.
What did you, though, like, it was one of those, there were a number of those. I agree with you completely. It was nice to have some family conflict, but it was all normal.
Yeah.
Even when the little girl asks about divorce, like, he's like, he doesn't get super insecure. He's not well, why? What did you hear? And no, you know, or like, it looks like it's something that, and, you know, as you go further north in Europe, everyone's just a lot more, well, divorce happens.
Yeah.
Who isn't divorced here? You know, hands, please.
Yeah.
But it was a nice moment. It was a little bit of real, but it wasn't like overplayed. That was not one of the main points. And so they didn't have to use that. This saved the family because the man stepped up.
It wasn't forced. There was no forced family that sort of tiring forced family conflict that they often do.
Like, I mean, the kid, the moody teen was a moody teen, but not his moodiness was not the driving force of trying to bring everyone back together, you know, which I thought was pretty cool. You know, that was nice. That lower family arc was nice, because really, you know, a big chunk of, you know, 80 meters of water wiping out the town and almost killing everyone. I think that's enough drama. How much more conflict do you need?
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Like a lot, I mean, I can't count the number of times in a movie where the husband and wife were civil, and the question was, are they ever going to get back together? And maybe this is I mean, from Die Hard to isn't you know, and the father lives away, and the wife, you know, one of the kids is going to visit them or something. I think The Rock has a movie like that. Yeah,
2012. That John Cusack, who was. Yeah, let me use this as an excuse to rant a little about 2012. And I kind of like your disaster movie. I'm okay with that. But that one where it was like he was obviously just quite the hot mess. The only one who had a real special skill that got them out of the jam was his ex-wife's husband, who knew how to fly and served to fly away. And then they had to kill him, because that's what's the word I'm looking for, Jim? Like, they had to kill him because it was the only way John Cusack could get together with the ex.
Yeah.
And so it's like, really, the actual stand-up guy, you're gonna cut, you know, because John Cusack, the hot mess of an ex, that if we ever met these people, we'd go, why are you going back with him? Like, do you hate yourself?
I love you, but you need to be serious about this family, you know, or your career.
Yeah.
You need to grow up. Or you can't be such a workaholic. There's a little bit of that in this movie, but
But even then, like, it bothered me initially, and maybe even halfway through the film, Jim. The one thing where it was like, well, which is it? Obviously, okay, the boy doesn't want to leave because all his friends are there. We never see any of them.
Yeah.
But his friends are there. Okay, sure.
I would add another minute to the movie.
the woman who Idun, the wife. Idun. Thank you. Yeah. The wife, she, you know, she was the one who liked the house, but later on, it doesn't seem like she's driving this. They actually, and this is what warmed me up a little later. It's like, no, they really are just a regular family.
Yeah.
Partners. Like, I bought later on when he said, listen, Mom and I, decided this is what's best for the family, and not in an over the top kind of, not in an over top kind of preachy, you didn't feel like, the more you know, or
Yeah.
some hashtag kind of moment. It really was just, no, this is a family kind of saying, listen, it's tough, but we make the tough calls here. Like, it's like the, I later on, I just kind of warmed up to the fact that they really were a regular family, even when, and probably one of the nicest little moments is when he's driving with his daughter up the road, and he's trying to figure out what to do, and he's kind of having these, and it dawned on me, usually this character is the competent man.
Yeah.
Like and either he always was, or he really steps out of his shoes and he becomes this man of action. And at no time, and that was the moment that it really kind of seemed to drill, like his performance there was no, this is a guy barely hanging on.
Yeah.
He really is having a hard time he really is just having a hard time. He can get up the mountain with his daughter, or he can go, see if he can't find his wife and son and drag them with him. But he's just having that moment, and you could just kind of feel him sort of breathing to focus, you know? And I really, really liked that. That was probably where I was really started to buy into everything. That may have been, oh, wow, this is kind of real. And then of course, the darkest turn, but we may be a little early to look into that. But does that make sense? Or
absolutely, yeah. Where he won me over was the hood slide when he was running across, and he did like a LA style or a Beastie Boys style hood slide over the hood of the car. I was like, yeah, that's my guy. What else has he been in? I hope so. I'm gonna, after that we get off this, I'm gonna try and find a supercut of hood slides. What I just sort of, I don't even know if that's the term, but it's when a guy sort of skids across the top of a car at the front of the car, and it's sort of it's something that Andy Samberg would think was pretty cool on Brooklyn Nine-Nine, but
it is. It's the what's the word I'm looking for? It's the
it's just a sweet move.
A sweet move.
Oh, totally. Yeah, they can do it on a Volvo in Scandinavia too. That's pretty neat. In sort of, there was an ease to this movie, and there was a real there was a couple things that a couple writerly turns that I didn't love, but it's like, Katie says very 80s. Yes. But there was a real ease to this movie, and you're talking about the whole marriage thing. And the first half an hour, like it takes its time developing, and it introduces you to all the characters and that sort of thing. And the stuff, the details on the marriage that didn't bother me as very. I mean, I thought it was quite good, and that's usually where a movie like this falls down. Where I just want the disaster to happen, and but in this case, there was a real ease. There's a sort of a confidence behind it. It didn't feel like a movie from a small country compared to The Wandering Earth, which we watched last week. There was a real effort that, like, every actor was trying to sell every line, like, super hard. Yeah. This one, no, there was just
this one's for you, Katie.
There was a real ease to the performances, and a real sort of I thought it moved really well. Looking back when I was young, I was kind of semi-obsessed with the 1970s movie Earthquake, if you remember that one.
Mm-hmm. I do, yeah.
And the big conflict.
Don't mind me, I'm just adjusting my screen. Once again. Anyway, continue. Earthquake.
The big conflict there was, would Charlton Heston choose between I'll use your term, hot mess Ava Gardner with the muumuu and the I don't know what, the skull cap she was wearing, or Genevieve Bujold, and And
Genevieve Bujold
as a kid, well, yeah, I know. And I watched it since, and the coolest thing about that movie is Charlton Heston's Jeep phone, which actually has one of those old twirly cords that you used to have on all the phones.
I remember. Okay, yeah.
It was like, I'm on my Jeep phone, but but as a kid, I didn't understand. Like, he's given a choice between, a woman with a French accent in her 20s and this 100-year-old nasty lady, and it's not an ageism thing. I just want to get that out there.
No, not at all.
But
how old was Charlton Heston then?
Well, yeah, that's yeah. I mean, he'd be a bit of a daddy figure there, I think. But
yeah.
But
I mean, it was the 70s. Like, I mean,
yeah.
Anyway, continue about your 13-year-old image of the way it should work.
And it was just such a okay. So regardless of who was doing what, it was such a tiring plot point, and eventually he sacrifices himself, and both him and Ava Gardner die. In she gets washed away in the sewer, which is sort of metaphorical. Anyway, yeah, and I watched. I was like, good movie, except for the main relationship. But in this case, it was part of it. It felt organic, like, it just worked for me. I thought it was a great movie. I thought it, whether or not it was sort of worthy of an Oscar for foreign movie or whatever, that doesn't bother me as much. But I quite liked it. It was quite good.
I think, it's something you said earlier. Like, there are some real problems. It starts slow in part because I really did. By the end of it, you had that big ending scene. You've got a helicopter landing, an ambulances, a ton of extras.
Yeah.
Obviously, a road closed, ton of equipment. Just that big post-disaster recovery scene. Yeah. Hey, everything's going to be all right. And I was like, oh, they blew their budget there. Yeah. That's where they spent their money.
Crane shot.
Yeah. Yeah. Everything otherwise was very tight, like super. Yeah, we're in a room, we move to another room, we're in a car, we're never like every scene is with a small number of people. Like, this bus came off, like, I mean, it's almost, you could see them flipping around those extras. It's like, okay, you're gonna come in, you're gonna line up here, and then you're going to go over there and wait a couple hours while we turn everything around and pretend it's nighttime. And then you're going to line up and you're going to leave. This is what you're going to do. Well, whatever the Norwegian is for that. And so what the problem there is, and that's what I mean about the slow start, where I was really getting critical at the beginning, was because they never showed us anything. It was all just talk. And then they invested in so it was a whole bunch of talk, and then they invested, they wouldn't even invest in a real Jenga pile. It was, well, I've got some binders here. This is what's happening in the mountain. And, it's like this, and it's like this, and it's like this. I mean, you need that moment, but, maybe a little more time in the crevasse, start, that would be my biggest criticism, the beginning. Oh, and we got Matt Johnson in the house, and apparently he agrees with me. Matt Johnson is an intelligent man. A man of discernment. But I think that was probably, but yeah, it is. And you're right, Jim, 4 million people. I can't think, probably the biggest budget genre, I mean, notwithstanding what comes out of Quebec, because it's just, it is, we are talking about, in many respects, a different country.
Oh, yeah.
But the rest of Canada, we don't generate that kind of thing. I don't ever see anything like that coming out of Canada, although we could. It's not like we don't have the environment for it, but I don't see anything coming out of Canada that is inherent, like where the kid turns on and it's like, oh, nature of things.
Yeah.
You don't want to watch this, beachcombers, something where it's like so obviously set in Canada. What did you think of, Jim, the I'm wondering what you think of the fact that there was no villain. You had a couple kind of people cracking under pressure, but there wasn't a. Usually they set up a villain early, and it looked like they were going to set up that poor Arvid guy. Like, I mean, and yes, there was an argument, but even there, I'd be like, if I was one of the other workers there, as our hero was spouting off, I'd be like, yeah, don't drag me in. You quit. Please don't look at me. I could kind of feel that sort of. How am I going to stop the boss?
It's funny because when we watched the one, go ahead, sir.
Yeah. No, you go. When you watched,
when we watched the Wandering Earth last week, I don't think there was a villain. I'm trying to think of it, unless Jupiter counts. So that sort of,
other than maybe the United Earth government.
Oh yeah,
a bit near the end, but
that French guy.
Never. Yeah, but even they weren't a villain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was definitely against the environment. But in these disaster movies, there's usually like one or two villains. The crazy and the, you get that. Oh,
you still there?
I really got to get better at this. You get the.
Just blame it on the tsunami.
Yeah. Yes, it's a tsunami of buttons and gizmos. But do you know what I mean? Like I could, I'm not articulating.
I'm okay with not having a traditional villain. There's villains typically are kind of hard to do, and to have one that really works really well. I find them more obnoxious most of the time. Trained to, sometimes it's the weakest point in an otherwise good movie. The Train to Busan, he had that sort of Weasley older businessman.
Still haven't seen it. We can spoil the movie. We can spoil the movie for our audience. They know they've entered the spoiler zone.
Yes.
But don't spoil that for me. Okay.
No.
Sorry.
But yeah, there's an obvious villain there, and there's Paul Reiser in Aliens 2, I guess, and there's these sort of Weasley business types, and that didn't really come down, and it almost in that way that it's not.
There is no moment. You've got to stop the drilling now, or the whole mountain's going to come down us. Forget it. There's money down. The only thing down there is money down that hole.
I have a few.
That's a great cheesy line. Yeah, go ahead.
For later, but Arvid sort of is. If there's anybody who would be a villain,
could have been, and
yeah,
chose not to.
All you need you need the anchor blazer, and give it to Arvid, and he says, Christian, we have tourists in town. Do you want me to say goodbye to the whole tourist season? And
Katie's on Team Cheboyko.
Oh, there we go. He was. Oh, I hated him. But I actually looked up while this movie was playing. I stopped it for a sec because I realized then there's a lot of references in this COVID age to the mayor of Jaws, like comparing the politicians in the States to the mayor of Jaws. And I actually had to look up his name because I just thought of him as mayor, but apparently it's Larry Vaughn. It's played by the late great Murray Hamilton. Who strangely looks like my father-in-law, but anyway, my late father-in-law. But I'm okay with that. There was a little bit of resistance when Christian first realized that something was wrong, that the water levels were dropping, the groundwater was dropping, and in terms of conflict, there was that. But I don't feel like with this one. I want to say that it wasn't all that infected by American movie making, except that it was a disaster movie. So you didn't have the BS family drama. You didn't really have a traditional villain, and I'm okay with that because there was a lot of other things that were going on, and I think they handled it quite well. Don't
get my Christian. Like it wasn't a criticism. It was more kind of noteworthy. Like and they had some people where it was like, okay, that's bad behavior, but Arvid, the closest to a when everything's calm villain. Like he could have been really set up as the bastard.
Yeah.
But even then, they're like quick to not even redeem him, more just kind of explain him. Like, I mean, it really was a difference of opinion. And you could kind of tell it's like, oh, this is the hothead of the group.
Yeah.
And Arvid is the guy in charge, kind of, listen, I ain't shutting everything down just because you got a feeling.
Yeah.
And later on, when that couple join Idrun to find Sandra, and of course it's and then it all goes so totally sideways to a point where I'm like, whoa, this is a change in tone. Everything got real. Like when finally in the end the wife dies, but the guy didn't want to go back to help Idrun lives, and then the water's rising, and then he like panics. And all of a sudden there's mom taking care of business. And I was like, whoa. Whoa. And I'm checking the time and I'm like, whoa, oh, this has gotten dark.
It got real dark.
Like, but it also though, and again, another point in the, let's say, classy filmmaking, and avoiding standard tropes. This woman, her son, this guy, like even his, panicking behavior and, just, I mean, it was a little put on, but, they're actually dying slowly. They're freezing to death. It's not just the air. It's just they've been in cold effing water for way too long, and but unlike, I mean, if it was an LA movie, that woman, I mean, half her shirt is going to be torn off. She would have had to have taken it off for some ridiculous reason and just be in a tank top. Not once. Idrun was in pants and a shirt like you would be. Even the one time when she had to take her coat off, and everyone had to, was just to try to keep the water back. But it wasn't like everything, your shirt, because you're bleeding and all. They never once went there. And it was awesome. Like at the end, even her husband, it's like, those look like a couple who would have that age of children. It's not that preternaturally, like, I mean, they're all beautiful because, it's film. And I think, I suspect, all of Scandinavia just generates, healthy people. But there wasn't any of that. It is. I'm sure we could look it up in Wikipedia. That font, that paragon of probity.
Yes.
Nothing more accurate than crowdsourced wisdom from Wikipedia.
When it's good when I'm a reference several times on it. True story.
Really? You've got a Wikipedia?
I don't, but things that I've written have been referenced by as part of the footnote system there.
Okay, so to our upwards of 3, oh my goodness, we got four folks. Two on YouTube, and well, you know what? We got 2 people on YouTube, Jim. Anyway, if there's any keeners out there as they're watching, maybe they could look up Jim Klaboyko's Jim's references. He's been referred to as a source on Wikipedia.
I think one of them for a couple of things that I wrote for Canadian Geographic. So whoop whoop. That's from Katie. I think she should get a little star by her name or something for the comments. I don't know. But we should also mention actually that
she should.
Yes.
Oh, there is a mechanism to do that once we're a bigger deal.
There's
it's not a big enough deal, Jim.
The movie that we watched, the way we watched this, it was streaming on a service called hoopladigital.com. And that's if you have a
terrible service.
Sorry?
I can give a rating to Hoopla Digital now.
Oh, you didn't like it?
2 stars.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, like you can see in the quality of the stream. They're like, I mean, I'm not a fan of Hoopla's interface. I don't think they give you a quality product. It's not like Canopy where you really are getting a top tier stream, like a high bit rate.
Oh, technically, you mean?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
yeah, no, it and its search functions are terrible. You know it's on there, but you search it the wrong way. It's, well, we don't have anything like that. And then, 2 clicks later, hey, would you be interested in this? I'm like, you mean the thing I asked for and you said you didn't have? Yeah. Damn you, I can't even grab anyone by the scruff of the neck.
With Canopy, you can actually comment on movies. Hoopla, not so much.
Canopy is like fundamentally different, like a whole different class of free programming because we have library cards. Yeah. Here, let me continue to complain about that, which is given to me for nothing.
There we go. More advertising dollars out the window. Thanks, Rob.
If thank God, if Keith was watching and was going, maybe some money for my business card on this, it would have been done by now. He would have clicked off long ago.
Yes. When you were saying that it got dark, and it almost, there was a bit of a turn about I guess the third act, right? There was so the wave hits, and that's 10 minutes of action, a lot of running away from it, and then the impact, and then the aftermath, and he still has to find,
because again, budget was small.
Yeah,
there's only so much they can show, but they used it well then.
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, one of the horrifying scenes was he finds the tour bus that left from the hotel, and he got down in it, and that was approaching. When you're watching Lord of the Rings, and there's a couple of moments where you're reminded that Peter Jackson was initially primarily a horror director. That had definite elements of real horror, like that was I think that something like that would fundamentally, that would be sort of PTSD fever dream stuff. Like
it was great, and it was great. It was horror, but it was horrific in a more real way. Just that. And even I really did, Jim, like when I first watching, I'm like, oh, we got a jump scare. Somebody's got to be alive. Because there was a part of me that was kind of surprised in all this aftermath. You don't, like, where's the groaning? Oh, come say,
Yeah.
I mean, not that kind of movie, I guess, but I thought for sure it's just going to, there's a jump scare. And no, it's just that sad, like poignant little moment where I want to say her name's Vibeke or Vibeke.
Vibeke.
Yeah. Her, dead, and just that little, you kind of, we know who she is. And then he moves over, and it's just that, and he is just getting wrung out, just psychologically getting wrung out, in part because his wife isn't there. So what does that mean?
And he would have had to check all the bodies.
Pardon?
He would have, sorry to interrupt, he would have had to check all the bodies, like all 40 people or whatever, to make sure that she wasn't on the bus. And that itself is
absolutely. And I think that was part of what was making that work, that scene work. Because even at the end, when it kind of dawns on him, hey, my kid and my wife is not on this bus. But at the same time, that last person is somebody he knows. The young future all ahead of her, coworker, that they gave her that little, you can't even call it a flirt, more that little moment when the teenage boy is, they're just passing each other in the hall, and then they look back at each other, and and then this little moment, that one little moment, just to make her, make us like her, because it's nothing, really on, like it's just a little moment, and then later on, it's a little harder to take when you see her dead.
Well, and also because there was
as opposed to when mom takes care of business,
with her legs. Don't look, son. I'm gonna
don't look.
I'm gonna James Bond style take this guy out.
yeah, he's like,
whoa.
Yeah, that was wow.
That was
In case anyone hasn't quite figured it out. Oh, what's Luna Taspis?
Oh, I think that's the article that I wrote. It was
Oh,
a fossil. It was about 10 years ago, so I don't exactly remember the yeah. Thanks, Richard.
Richard wins a prize.
Those are some research skills on a Friday night.
Richard L wins a dolly. I don't know where we're gonna get that dolly from, but you know what? What the heck? Richard, you win a dolly. Richard wins. But yeah, the way she so for those who haven't seen the movie, we've pretty much told you the whole movie anyway. Well, it is the spoiler zone, so suck it up. The mother near the end, everyone's starting to lose their crap as they're stuck literally in an old bomb shelter from
three people.
Because so it's her son, and this poor guy who's just lost his wife and is starting to panic. And in a moment of panic, as they're all shoved in this ever shrinking amount of air space, as the water keeps rising, he starts to lose it, and he starts basically, I'm not going to die here, and trying to drag them down and shove them under. And, first it's the son, then it's the mother, then it's the son. And then he's really got a hold on the son, and she can't calm him down. And so mom takes care of business, wraps her legs around his head, and in no way a salacious way, and sits on him basically, like, so he's stuck underwater. He lets go of the son finally because he's dead.
Yes. Then he sort of sinks, but he's still standing, which is another.
That kind of
water, and that's another image too. That's sort of hard to get out there, but
and that the son is processing, like there's going to be some quiet chats,
Yes. Yeah.
I did think they went a hill too far with the dad at the end. I was like, you know what? He's not sacrificing himself in a dramatic way. Yes, he gave his son his last breath, but it was like kind of, and it's like, are you really going to do this? Like, I mean, okay.
Well, also,
do I have
too, you have to,
and then he lives anyway. So, but I don't think it needed it.
I don't think so either. And then you have to sort of think that, I mean, there was a couple things. First of all, it was that other couple going with him into the bomb shelter, him losing his wife, and the angry man, surviving temporarily with Idun and Sandra in the bomb shelter. I thought that was a little bit writerly, and also the very end, that kind of stay with me, you bastard moment. Which you see a lot in movies. Now, earlier on, I was sort of saying that the nice thing about this movie, it wasn't too affected by a lot of them sort of Hollywood, I won't say American, but just sort of Hollywood cliches. And, I mean, there's always some, right? So at the end, when you're talking about the helicopter scene, the little girl sees the rest of her family approaching. Of course, they're walking three abreast, and I thought they're just little things, right? I thought the soundtrack had some little American turns in it. I mean, it's not these like the Arrival soundtrack, which is just whole notes, burm, but so there was some, but it sort of stood on its own. I was quite pleasantly surprised, but there was the very end, and that was "Stay with me, you bastard," and everything's okay.
I got two comments on that. Like, I think what you're thinking of with Denis Villeneuve's oeuvre, is his music is, dissonance, I think is the word. It's like, will it make people feel uncomfortable? Will it be kind of weird and kind of squirmy? That's the music for me. And that was certainly not their thing here.
No.
But now I'm gonna, it was some of these moments were, but maybe some of these moments kind of bother you because unlike a classic, let's say North American Hollywood style disaster flick, whether it's on the small scale or the big scale, whatever, this isn't a, like, because they did so well in some of these tropes, they didn't do some of the obvious stuff. You actually have bandwidth to go, oh, I don't like that.
Yeah.
Like, doesn't make any, like, do you know what I mean? Like, it was, because it was, no, the family is falling apart. No, mom and dad had a fight, and a reasonable one.
Yeah.
And not dramatic, like not way over the top, but the kids pick up on the play, go, and he's doing what, a spouse that effed up does, apologize. The other one's like, I don't got time for that. I don't want to. She's not ready to let him off the hook yet, but nothing, no screaming or I don't know you anymore. None of that. Like they skip so many of those tropes that, we have time. It's not like I mean, the counter is actually pretty small, and it's by the end, it's like, oh, I don't like that at all. That's unoriginal.
Yeah.
But you're you are right though. At the same, it's like I did, like, it really stood out. The 3 abreast thing, I'm like, well, they have to get together.
Yeah.
How else do you do it? It's like, like, I mean, oh, hey, you reach that point. Once that's happened, how else do you do it? You can't shoot that scene in any way other than somebody's walking, unless they literally just bump into each other. Hey, you're okay. You're not going to believe what happened to us. Why don't you let me tell you about what happened to us?
As you're on your way to gather some open face sandwiches from the Red Cross van, it's like, oh, papa, that.
Well, fancy running into you here.
Yeah, exactly. I think open face sandwiches. We're gonna get some hate mail. I think those are Danish, but anyway, there was.
Well, you know what? That Philip and his poor wife Maria.
Yes,
they were Danes. So,
oh, were they? Oh, were they really?
Yeah, that was the plot point. Yep.
Oh, okay. So
minor one, but
interesting that you were talking about the competent male earlier that has some sort of skill, and I was thinking, oh, the guy that's with him in the bomb shelter is obviously going to be like, wait a second, I'm an engineer specializing in pneumatic force or something, and no, it is like, I don't know, not very helpful anyway.
Well, and now, okay, going back to singing, it's weird small praises, small, nice little moments. He, our hero, the paterfamilia, he does have a bit of mountaineering skills. Needed it for his job. It's demonstrated at the beginning.
Yeah.
But he never once, and not like a Chekhovian, well, here's a gun, when are you going to shoot it? He never once uses it to get anyone out of a jam.
Yeah.
It's all just a nail gun. Just kind of stumbling through. Yeah, no nail gun. It was just a man stumbling through, trying to find his family like anyone would do, in an environment where it's just, well, it's literally a disaster site. And I thought that was awesome. Was there anything that you like? This is your first Norwegian movie.
I think
this is my second. Because I did. I watched, part of it was, I was like, oh, I want to get my head into Norwegian cinema. So I picked almost the easiest one you can watch. I found it on Prime. Ashlad in the land of the mountain troll king.
Oh, of course, trolls and mountains.
But it was like kind of, oh, I should check this out. And then I'm like, well, I'll watch this. It'll get, at least get an idea of how the language works. Cause I'm definitely going to be doing the subtitles thing. Then of course you get to Hoopla. I'm still here, Jim. Let me just, let's put it all on. Oh, not on me, on you.
Sure.
On you. But yeah, I think just a second here. I don't know where I'm.
Well, while you're doing that, I'm going to read out some of my favorite lines from the movie.
Okay, do it. Throw down, Mr.
Sandra. Well, first of all, how about those names? The Christian, I've heard that before. Idun, that's kind of neat. Julia was the daughter, and Sondra. What a great name that is! And it's even fun to say. Arvid was the boss. Jacob, Jack.
Was it Arvid or Avrid?
I think it was Arvid. I wrote down Arvid, but it was in the dark. So, and then Vibeke was the poor teen hotel clerk there. But a couple of the best lines where the son says to the dad, "This whole damn country is made of rock." That was. And then, but then Arvid says when he's sort of bunking with Jacob in that before when they're at the station there, he says, "These mountains, once they grab you, they never let go." And the other guy sort of rolls his eyes, and the Arvid says, he says, "Yeah, I read it in a book somewhere." So even they, like when they had a corny line, they made fun of it. And then one of the best, it's a good line, and it's a good use of subtitles, because the way it appeared on the screen when Arvid and Jacob were in the crevice and things were going to shit, they were sort of going through Christian was back at home going through all his old binders and looking for scientific information, and he's talking to Arvid on the phone, and he said, back when those other landslides happened, he said, "Arvid, they didn't expand," and that's how it appeared on the screen. They didn't expand. New subtitle, "They contracted," and I thought that was a really good use of, it's almost like a storybook where you flip the page and then there's the shot chaser. It was kind of a neat translation is its own art, right? And so I sort of wonder if subtitle folks sort of approach it the same way, but yeah.
Now, did you use the subtitles that were baked in? Yes, yet another thing I'm complaining about. Hoopla.
Yeah, just the whatever was on.
Yeah. Because you could also select the subtitles, which I did automatically. I didn't know they were baked in, like the print we were watching.
Okay.
So I clicked that on, and they're slightly different, which actually ridiculous, almost apropos of nothing except subtitles. I've recently gotten into the new Ghost in the Shell series on Netflix, which I was really kind of surprised how much I got into it. But there, if you watch it with the English subtitles and the English voiceover, the English dub, they're like telling two slightly different stories. It's like
Rashomon.
Yes. This is the story the subtitlers think you should watch, and here's the story that the dubbers think you should watch. And all I'm thinking is, apparently, if I want to watch the story that the original filmmakers wanted me to watch, I should learn Japanese. What about now? Here's a subtitling magic. The characters distinctly throw down F bombs. 3,
yes.
Not 1, not 2, but 3 F sharps, 3 swear, 3.
And how did they translate them?
Shit.
Yes.
Screwed up. Actually, I think it might be 4.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like,
that too.
You're doing it and you're giving me this? Come on, I can hear. I have ears.
Yeah.
I know exactly what sounds like.
They're gaslighting us.
And it even is like, if you look at the subtitle and it's like, that makes way more, has more, it's the F word.
Yeah.
Fuck off. Pardon my poor language. You know what? Richard Lennon says The Kitchen Stories is a funny Norwegian film from 2003. Oh, that's right. Ashlad. I actually kind of enjoyed it. It's and maybe this is going back to what you're talking about, a country of 4 million people. Talk about punching above their weight in filmmaking.
Mhm.
This really, it was a nice little movie. They picked the right size,
Mhm.
for a disaster flick. You could really, like those kind of things you need to feel like, yeah, it's got to be big enough that it feels like a disaster. So you almost have to kind of choose where you have your disaster.
Yeah.
If it's the globe, boy, you better have a global budget,
Yeah.
whereas here they're like, well, no, we'll do it right here. It's something their market knows.
Mhm.
Sounds like this is a regular threat to a million little towns in Norway. But this Ashlad, which also, it's got a fair bit of CGI, but they work pretty well with that. What they have, like, it feels, it has like, boy, they really are doing a great job putting every nickel they can on the screen.
Yeah. I'll have to watch it. Yeah, I'm totally intrigued. And then Richard says, Kitchen Stories is a funny Norwegian film from 2003. So
I put it up on the screen like twice. So,
but unfortunately, if it doesn't have mountains or trolls, I'm out.
Okay, well, there you go, Richard. No Kitchen Stories for us, unless you can you can guarantee that it has nuns and what are you saying, trolls? Nuns?
Trolls, nuns. Where did that come from?
I don't know.
Norway, land of nuns.
Well, Mr. Chilboyko, we're getting near the end, but stay with me. I want to see. Let's see if we can't. Let's make sure that we're actually. Bear with me.
Sure.
I want to see that we're actually answering some of the questions we sort of set up here. We're currently live. Oh, that's neat. All right. Okay. So one of the can I insult another culture with more awful attempts at name pronunciation? Actually, I think I've done pretty well. I have, stumbled on a couple, but not disastrously. And yeah, I don't think, and then I didn't bother trying on some of the ones where I'm like, why would I do that?
Yeah.
And you didn't, well,
yeah, neighborly, there's that ancestral DNA thing. I don't know.
Yeah, that's exactly. I still haven't been to a Scandinavian country in my travels. That said, I think about.
Look at this. I've been researching.
Oh, okay. Oh, somebody's throwing down the research skills gauntlet. No, myself, I think of a friend of mine who I have traveled. Well, you may remember from school, Jennifer Doyle.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I remember when we were planning our first trip together. Actually, I'm talking like we've traveled so much. We went to England once, and then we were going to go to China. We never did, or I went to China. She stayed in Winnipeg. But I remember got to be one of the best bits of travel advice I ever got was she had said, you know what? I really thought I was Irish until I met the Irish. And then I'm like, no, I'm Canadian. And how that relates to what we're talking about here in a long way. It's like, yeah, just because the name's Icelandic doesn't mean I am.
Yeah.
And I'm actually at that point now where sometimes, you get people, they get a little too wrapped up in that identity, that sort of hyphenate identity that, when it's like kind of, I don't feel bad that I don't, I didn't actually grow up in an Icelandic family. Like that wasn't a big part of growing up. So no, and
I don't think you even eat fish. So that's,
well, if they're like, if Captain Highliner comes in a triangle, a lovely triangle wrapped in batter. Yeah, sure. I could down that. Tuna salad. Absolutely.
There you go. Fermented shark meat.
All right, so that was a really long kind of sidebar. Here is another one. I don't know about you, Jim, but I really did. Every, the online poster the thing you see on as you scroll, because I know this was on Netflix for a while.
Yeah, I think so.
Other services. I really thought that it's like every time is that Kevin Sorbo? I really did.
Yeah.
Hercules /
Yeah. It's the thing was the hair
enthusiast.
Yeah.
Baiter of
the Keith Urban like haircut.
Yeah, and baiter of atheists, which seems to be the last 4 or 5 movies he's done are these, very, I'm not sure, I can't, I'm not as familiar as I once was, how that end of American Christianity breaks out. So I won't even try to put him in a slot.
Yeah.
But I really was. It's like, oh, is that Kevin Sorbo? Okay. So when I wrote this shtick, I was like, hey, are they twins? And then the second I saw the trailer, I'd already put this up. The second I saw they're not twins at all.
Yeah. Well,
not at all.
He actually reminded me of Daryl from The Walking Dead, the one that, sort of a bit of a Walking Dead sex symbol, if there is one. But yeah, that sort of scruffy charm. Sorry, what were you saying?
I was about to say, Kevin Sorbo, if the United States ever made it on a budget, like for Lifetime or no, just straight to Netflix or even further down market in the streaming services. Kevin Sorbo would be the star. It would be that would be the first way they'd Americanize it,
Yeah.
He'd be that geologist who's, I've got to save people. And it would be a lot more over the top, but would definitely look worse, even though they probably spend a bit more money, because they would just go to that grab bag of stale old gags, stale old tropes.
Yeah.
Okay. Was this really Norway's official submission for the Academy Award for Best Foreign Language Film for the 88th Oscars? And as we've talked about it, and if I'm really honest, although it was a pretty strong year, like I looked into the 88th Oscars, they had a lot of strong films. Spotlight came out then and won an award. Revenant won one, which I'm like, but given it's the Oscars and who the hell cares? Because you can barely remember any of these things afterwards. Yeah. I think there's maybe one that I can't remember right now, but one of the foreign film Oscars where you could kind of see, of course they were nominated, like they were chosen for the short list, but not one of them I was like, wow, of course it won. More, of course that kind of talky, cultural, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that would. Yeah, it's the Oscars. Nobody cares. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, people are entertained by it in the year it is. Yeah. And then after that, history kind of tells you what a good movie is. So,
and some kind of like, when's the last time anybody talked about the, no disrespect intended, but when was the last time anybody talked about the artist? Or, there's the Dallas Buyers Club, try finding that somewhere. I haven't really looked, so that might be a bad example, but there's lots. And I look at the lists afterwards and I think, as leading up to the show, I'll think, oh, I have to see that before the ceremony. Oh, I have to see that. And I don't. And then 5 years pass and I still haven't seen it and nobody's talked about it. And
here's the, and you're absolutely right. The ones that in the Oscars, what wins are those middle, everyone's second best choice. Partly they've now changed the ballot, so pretty much guarantees that mediocre plus, that 3.5, that solid 4-star movie, nothing great, but nothing truly offensive.
Ernest.
Ernest. Yeah, Ernest, easy to watch, non-threatening, really. Like, even if it's the Green Book. It's like, which is actually so earnest and non-threatening, it's insulting, if it bothers me, and I'm not an American, African-American, I'm not an African-American. It's just so disturbingly flips everything around. But like, I mean, here, the only truly brilliant film on this list, because, okay, here is the Best Picture nominees. Spotlight, yeah, solid movie. The Big Short, which I enjoy, but I can understand if it just disappears. I like it. Bridge of Spies, that was a Best Picture nominee. And honestly, yeah, but would you say it was wow? Like you'll remember it forever? Or will you go,
you have to see
a solid little historical thriller. Brooklyn, which heck, I still haven't seen it. The Martian, solid entertaining movie. The Revenant, Room, there's Oscar bait if there ever was. But of all these films on here, like they're all very Oscars. The Danish Girl with Eddie Redmayne and Vikander.
But this was foreign language. Right.
Yeah, this is foreign language, and they were all very earnest. But I'm just the point I'm trying to make, Jim, is they most of the time you're not going to remember a lot of these. Bridge of Spies, it's like, oh yeah, that was a movie. What the one that won the most awards though, but only the best nomination they got was for Best Picture, actually, which is like wow. But the only one where I'm like, that was insane, and what a great nomination, but it's going to be a great movie if it got no nominations, won no awards, was Mad Max Fury Road.
Oh yeah,
like that. What a truly great piece of filmmaking.
Oh yeah.
Like whereas the rest of these are pretty solid movies.
Yeah.
That was like something, if the Oscars was about what the pop culture actually thinks it's about, it'd be Mad Max all the way.
Yeah.
I mean, that was just a brilliant piece of filmmaking. But do you need an Oscar to say it's a brilliant piece of filmmaking? So why shouldn't the Norwegians send this bit of genre nonsense, which is a pretty solid movie and did a lot of things that were actually quite different for this kind of movie, while still being a solid disaster flick?
Yeah.
I gotta take my judgment of them back. I think that was they have every right to send this in. It was a solid flick.
Yeah.
Who the hell am I to judge that choice? Because then I'm just like any other ASSHOLE, going, oh, it's the Oscars.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at this list going, Mad Max Fury Road. Now there was brilliance.
As you know, I'm a big Community fan. Community never won any Emmys. So, and that sort of stood television on its head as far as I'm concerned, and it still holds up. I'm watching it again now that it's back on Netflix. So, I mean, in terms of awards, it's almost, you almost don't want your favorite movies to win awards, right? That might sort of sully it or make it a bit sort of obvious.
Or does it question your own judgment even?
Or does it force your judgment? Is it the thing that you used to think? What's that?
How do you mean?
If that was pretty good, then it wins, and then you think, oh, that must have been good because it won a movie, because it won an award. Ergo, it's a good, it's a great movie, right? It stands on its own, and everything else is gravy. So,
well, that's it. And maybe if we're still doing this coming Oscar time, maybe we can unpack this more. But there's so much going on when you think of Oscars and
political and and there's all the PR kind of push.
Just as the fans, as movie fans, film fans, it's kind of I'll use coffee. Third wave coffee. I'll use third wave coffee as an example. I love my parlor. I have my overpriced coffee machine. I can do my own lattes and all that. Would not, and it is I can even get into the whole not hating on Starbucks, but kind of, oh no, I have a higher standard. Meanwhile, though, wouldn't even know there was a higher standard except for Starbucks. And so as a coffee guy, really into that. I can take my head out of my, enough to sort of go, well, part of why I like it, I like that higher standard is because it's a way to be special. So is some of the, like, yeah, it's the, well, if the Oscars said it was good, I'd start going, well, I'm not liking the cool band no one has heard of. It's like, oh, well, they've gone mainstream or something. That's part of my worry there. Of course, you could just, kind of take your, time will tell. I don't think if it was a great film, I'll end up liking it. I'll look at it again and I'll go, boy, that really was solid. And if it was awful and I got caught up in a bandwagon, well, later on, you just forget about it. You conveniently go, I'm unfamiliar with that work. Won an Oscar, you say? Really?
Yeah.
What do you think? Like,
yeah, I mean, it's, I think, you
terrible belch.
It's a funny thing, awards. I'm another one of my favorite movies is District 9, and that was
every time, Jim, I want to flip to you, I end up flipping to myself, and so our three fans are going like, why are we? He asks Jim a question, and then it's just him drinking or looking away or scratching himself. Anyway, continue.
It's one of those things. They are. You get the people who win, and then they get up and they say, well, awards are silly anyway. And I don't know. It's fun. I think it's almost like the equivalent of Hall of Fame entries for sports figures. The career's long done, and it's a lot of just sort of mental chewing gum. I think it just sort of, it gives you a way to ruminate about things in a different way or look at things in a different way. And maybe isn't sort of takes you out of it, maybe even. But it's a way that and really it's for promotion, right? It promotes movies and
well, you know what? Well, we'll have to, like, again, if we're still doing this come the new year, we'll have to set up a couple of things. One, a prediction market. Two, for our 5 fans, maybe it'll double to 6 or 7, or 10. I guess that would be double. The other thing is, we can maybe dedicate a couple of days, to kind of unpack this stuff. Here's I think we're just about out of gas here. But before we kind of go offline and have our own little post show chat, is there any, like, and you know what, for the couple that are still watching, anybody got any suggestions? Jim, anything on your list?
Oh, geez, I haven't even looked that far ahead. Let me I guess I should, you ask me this every time, and
yes, I do.
I'm drawing a blank here.
I am enjoying the fact that you're like, it's like there's the question marks. So I'll just have to figure out a way that the question marks are just over our heads.
Seniors Day, that sounds good. Well, part of the thing is I'm back at work, so I'm just out of the house, so I'm a little I have less time to sort of noodle around and think about the important things like this. But
exactly.
Yes, yeah. Well, just that sort of noodling around on the internet time has been drastically cut back. So, it's, the funny thing is that I don't think you or I have ever gone to a movie that had subtitles before. Like, I don't think we've ever gone to we typically go to sort of, other sort of either the big releases or the sort of the secondary, like August releases, or those weird autumn movies that come out. But I don't think you and I have ever gone to one with subtitles, and we've done 2 in a row now that have had subtitles. So
and big screen ones that kind of, you do want it. It's not a little what did Richard suggest here? Yeah, kitchen stories. Where I'm like, I'm not thinking that's got a lot of action. Not a lot of big special effects. Yeah, no. Go ahead. Yeah,
a movie about open face sandwiches. That's my second. Second cultural reference. That's probably wrong. I don't know.
Probably, most likely. But yeah, so if we look at but yeah, it does. Like there's a certain freedom we get with these, with this this kind of thing. I'm just gonna throw. Oh yeah, go ahead.
And it's that COVID, having access to 5 or 6 or 7 streaming services, that wealth, that almost too much choice, and you have CBC Gem, and you have Hoopla, and you have Canopy, and Netflix, and Prime, and
I know it's kind of like, it's almost like we've changed our theme from cheesy sci-fi to like weird kind of art house genre. But I have never seen Rashomon.
Oh yeah.
So if you haven't,
yeah, I have, but I don't. Like that would be a good one to watch again because I haven't. Okay, I haven't watched it in a long time.
What about though? Like I think I mentioned this before. Or I put it in a list. I have not. I never got a chance to see Zombieland Double Tap.
Oh, yeah. We were talking about that last week.
Okay, so maybe that. And what else? I'm just kind of scrolling through my ridiculous.
That new Chris Hemsworth one has been sort of very polarizing, I understand.
Oh, are you talking about the one India? Like he's in India trying to save a kid, drug lords and that.
Yeah.
I have started it, but I have not finished it.
Oh, Katie's got a suggestion.
Oh. Let's ponder. I don't know. I'm unfamiliar with this work. It does sound something edgy from a foreign land. Katie, tell us more about this weekend at Bernie's. I think she should chime in. Give us you know what, Katie, want your pitch. Why should we watch Weekend at Bernie's? An 80s classic with what's his name? McCarthy.
Jonathan, I want to say Silverman. Is that?
Yes, Silverman and McCarthy.
McCarthy.
Thank you. It was in not 60.
I remember that.
But oh come on, Molly Ringwald, Pretty in Pink.
Yes,
he was the fantasy love. Oh, Katie's Andrew McCarthy. Thank you, Katie. That's still not a pitch on why we should watch that. Okay, in the meantime, digging into okay, I've already seen it. I could see it again, but I think we should stick to the one rule we do have, which is we haven't seen it. What about another bit of nonsense, genre nonsense on Netflix is Throwaways. It actually has, like, you've got James Caan, where the hell? Oh, come on. One of the Dylans, the Dylan that was on Entourage, a younger
Bob Dylan.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah. Oh, you got a much better impersonation, Am. All right. Anyway, so we've got some ideas.
Yeah.
We can dig deeper into foreign film. Oh, wait a sec. Oh, look at this.
Because there's a sequel.
Because there's a sequel. Wow, that's a convincing pitch. What it's funny. Part of the gag here is I guess they had watched it, and I remember it. They had watched it, of course. Richard, it's brilliant. Katie did not feel that way. We're texting back and forth, and then she's talking about the sequel. And she's like, well, did you see the sequel? And I'm like, no, if there's ever a movie, like, it's the dictionary definition of one trick pony is Weekend at Bernie's. I never was tempted. As much as I laughed in the first one, I was never tempted to see the sequel. The guy was dead. Like, where, what does he take him on? Do they take him on the road?
Yeah.
No. Like, now we're on tour.
It's got to happen right after.
That's good. Yeah, it's like, do they bring a fridge with them? Like,
Weekend at Bernie's 2, The Quest for Formaldehyde, I guess would be the subtitle. I don't know.
the boys learned to embalm.
Weekend at Bernie's 2, What's That Smell?
All right. Well, listen, on that note, I think it's time for us we've answered our key questions, the nonsense I come up with hours before the show. Thank you all for joining us. Oh, we actually, you know what? We're getting good viewership here.
Some good
Jim.
feedback too. Yeah.
Some good feedback. Thank you guys so much for chiming in. It makes the show better, I think, for all of us. And what else? Thanks for coming along for the ride.
Yeah.
Jim, if you can stick around for a bit, I'm gonna sign us off. And yeah, we're in a bit of a bind here. It's a whole bunch of we got question marks going on right now. So really not sure. Here, we can take that off. We're really not sure what's going to happen. So right now, again, it's question marks, but Jim and I will close the loop with you all. And like I said, Jim, if you can stay online for now, but otherwise, everyone else here, let me take this off for a sec so we can wave goodbye to everybody. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye, everybody.
Watch out for the waves.
All righty. End the broadcast.